Build your better breakfast at Subway with the tasty 250 combo, a 16-ounce cup of freshly brewed Seattle's best coffee, and any delicious egg muffin melt. And don't hit the snooze on this deal. Right now, come in before 11 a.m. for a $5 foot-long breakfast sub. Subway, eat fresh. The B.S. Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects.
First of all,
this is the B.S. Report with Bill Simmons.
It might be cool, I don't know. And if it's not, I don't care.
The B.S. Report with Bill Simmons.
Bill Simmons works for ESPN. He's also named the sports guy, and he writes a comical sports column. He must be a popular dude.
The B.S. Report.
It's got a real dirty sound, like a rusty steak knife cutting through a well-aged steak.
Now.
Here's Bill Simmons.
Welcome to B.S. Report. It's not a sunny day in Southern California, and we're not on an ISDN line. Unfortunately, I'm in a hotel room in New York City. And the good news is that Cousin Sal is on the Subway Fresh Take hotline. We're going to do the Week 5 lines. We guess them every week, and I have a 3-1 weekly lead. Cousin Sal, how you feeling?
Yeah, this is getting bad. Luckily, we haven't agreed on what kind of prize the winner gets. So
I know. If I take a bigger lead, I think the prize that we agree on is probably not going to be a very good one for me. Yeah. I like the idea. A reader said that every week during football season, the loser should have to wear a WNBA jersey of the winner's choice.
Ooh.
Every Sunday. So when we watch football with the fellas, you have to have like a Washington Mystics jersey on. I think that would be pretty funny.
Oh, all right. I'll consider. You know what? I have all those in my closet anyway, and I've been thinking of an occasion to bust them out, so that could work.
We are on an underdog run in the National Football League. Week 3. I have all this information here. I actually did a little homework for this podcast, Sal.
I was trying to think. I think, yeah, we have given some good selections out.
Yeah, well, in Week 3, the underdogs went 11-5.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, Sunday, Week 4, we don't have the Dolphins-Patriots result in, obviously, but the underdogs went 9-4. So the underdogs are 20-9 the last 2 weeks. What do you make of that?
I make of it that the gamblers are going to have money for the next 2 weeks, and then they're going to have to move on to something else, I think. It's hard to win in this league, and it is funny hearing about this parody thing. Like, everyone talks about like they invented it.
It's really been 15 years of parody, to be honest.
Well, just that I guess you take the points every time and you'll win. But what do you think it is?
I don't know. You know, I had a lot of trouble picking games this week, and I went 6-7. I actually should have done a little bit better. I had some bad luck, but on Thursday I was looking at all these lines, and I loved all the favorites, which is a terrible sign. But I guess like maybe some injuries played a little bit of a factor into it. It seems like New Orleans is banged up. Like, you look at that New Orleans-Carolina line, it was 13.5. I actually picked Carolina in that game, but it's so hard to take Jimmy Clausen in the Superdome. But yet, when you watch that game, like, they were right there. And then, there's a couple. Let me look at these.
While you're looking at that, I went 9-4 last week. I hate bragging, I really do. But
so you took a lot of underdogs.
3 weeks. But it really seems like the games are like unfolding the way we think they were. Like, last week we liked Cleveland +3 at Cincy. It made no sense, but they were home. And
that was the only one we liked.
Yeah.
Of the underdogs I covered yesterday, I think that Falcons-49ers game was pretty fluky. They had that weird punt play, and the guy catches it, keeps his feet in the end zone. I've never seen that before in my life. It was 14-0, and I don't think they scored another point.
I know, but Atlanta wasn't exactly lighting it up either. Like that was I thought that was going to be a hangover game, and it kind of was. But.
Yeah, well, but then they had the punt blocked. Ryan threw an interception inside the Niners 10. And it just once those two things happen together, you're like, all right, well, they're not going to cover this spread.
Right.
And I think the Jags Colts was the one that really seemed like maybe we just overvalued the Colts. Like, I do think there were some fluky ones, but in that specific game, the Colts were banged up. All their receivers were either injured and playing or injured and not playing, and we all just assumed, now it's Manning, he'll figure it out. But that was the one game, like, watching that, it just seemed like those teams were pretty even.
There also I think you're right, but there also seem to be some good teams who still don't deserve to give too many points at home, like Tennessee.
Yep.
Too many to Denver. I think these teams are better. I think like Miami's better on the road. I hate giving points with them at home, but yeah.
Yeah, well, the home teams went 5-8 this week, and last week were 5-11. So we saw we had a nice little run with the home teams the first 2 weeks, but now it seems like it's back to where the league was the last couple of years, which was that it doesn't matter if you're home or on the road. And I think that Titans-Broncos game is a perfect example. Those teams are pretty even, but yet the Titans got a big bump because they were playing at home, and I don't think they really have a home field advantage. You know, I don't think it mattered where that game was played.
I don't think so either. Yeah, it was more about the team not wanting to go 1-3 than realizing they were playing on the road.
Yeah. The Steelers-Ravens game was the one that I picked the Steelers, and I still feel pretty good about that pick. Watching that game, did you feel like the Ravens played better, or was that one of those 50-50 coin flips?
I kind of really thought all week. I thought, well, this is going to come down to the wire. This is the Steelers. They really match up so well together. And I know you're not a big Flacco fan, but I think he gets the job done. I think he's okay. He really does a nice job moving the ball when he has to. And I still think they're one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the league. I mean, who's more balanced than that Ravens team right now?
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, Flacco. And I was saying this, I watched it at a sports bar yesterday. I was saying the people that I was with, Flacco really needed to come through in a game like that. And when they didn't come through in the previous possession, they had a bunch of chances inside the 10. He just couldn't get it done. And the Steelers got the ball back. And I was like, he didn't do it again. But then they were able to get the ball back, and he moved the ball downfield. And I thought that might have been a good one for him, just long term.
Every yard was hard fought. I mean, you look, like Ray Rice was pretty much taken out of the equation. He was banged up going in, and they mixed it up with him and McGahee. But if Houshmandzadeh could come out as a decent receiver, and he's got Houshmandzadeh, Bolden, and Heap as targets, I think they're going to be okay the rest of the way.
What did you think? We debated about it. We decided they did the right thing. But Pittsburgh, basically on their own 1.5, with 2 minutes left, they punted. The Ravens got the ball right back at their 40. You could maybe make the case you take the safety and you punt from the 20. Would you have done that or no?
It did seem like it was falling right into the Ravens' hands. Like the fact that they didn't score, they went for it on 4th and goal, right?
Yep.
And they didn't score, which was the right move, I thought. I don't know. I'm always a team that takes a safety. Doesn't it seem like they just end up losing with no time on the clock anyway?
Well, so if they had taken the safety. They're punting from their own 20, and maybe the Ravens have the ball at their own 35. So then now they have to go 40 yards to kick a field goal, but it's Heinz Field, and it's a tough place to kick, as Jeff Reed proved yesterday yet again. They probably needed to get like 45 yards. The way it worked out, they had to go 40 yards, but they'd score a touchdown. So a little added degree of difficulty. I don't know.
I don't blame Tomlin, and as long as there are coaches like Andy Reid and now we're seeing Caldwell in the league, you can't get on his case just yet.
No, I'm not gonna. I agree with what he did. I would have punted too, but we were wondering what would have happened if they had taken the safety. That would have been a pretty interesting wrinkle. The worst move of the day, Andy Reid accepting the 10 things that he did. Coughlin at one point it was like 4th and goal from the 2, and inside the 5-yard line, and they decided to take the 3 points. Meanwhile, every time Cutler went back to pass, they were sacking him. It just seemed like, all right, even if we don't get this, the Bears have their backs to the goal line. Something good's going to happen anyway. That was pretty weird.
You talk about home field. I mean, you were there. Did it sound like that's the last place you want to be, is backed up on the 1-yard line in the new Giants Stadium, it seems, right?
Yeah, the Giants fans were not happy with that decision. They were not happy in general. It was maybe the most disgruntled crowd for a team that's actually won that I've seen in a while. They were unhappy for most of the game, except for the one time that they drove down and scored. The highlight, though, we really witnessed one of the worst halves of football I've ever seen. And certainly in person, I think it ranks among anything I've ever seen. But so they have the Ring of Honor at halftime. And all day everybody's telling me, just wait till Tiki comes out. He's going to get killed. And I'm thinking, it's not going to be that bad. And so they're doing, I don't think they showed this on TV, right?
No.
So they go through, and everybody's cheered. LT gets cheered. Lord Taylor on trial for rape. Huge ovation. And goes through. Jesse Armstead gets a huge ovation. Tiki Barber, just deafening boos. Deafening. And then they cut to him on the Jumbotron, and raises the hand. He just couldn't. It was one of the most awkward experiences I've ever had at a sporting event.
And Tiki had to know it was coming, to a point where I was thinking, he should just give his twin brother, $40,000. Say, listen, I don't want to show up to this. This means nothing to you if they start booing. So why don't you just take this? Take a bullet from me, brother, and go in there for me. I don't want to feel. I don't want to have to go through this. I
was asking around because I was with a couple people who know the Giants pretty well, and like, how did it get to this point where the Giants fan base legitimately hates the guy?
Yeah,
and he really didn't do anything that bad. I guess there's some bad feelings from when he announced his retirement during the season. People thought he was a little bit of an attention hog. And if you remember when they were making their Super Bowl run, people were really excited that they were doing it without Tiki because everybody thought he was kind of a jerk. But it's just kind of snowballed on him. And then the thing he had with the nanny and his wife, he left his wife, she was pregnant, and he was in the tabloids here. But then the thing that made people really mad, I guess, was last week when he did the Tom Coughlin, he's losing the team, he did that whole thing, and everybody they were like, all right, just shut up, Tiki. Like, it just really made them mad. I don't think he's coming back to Giant Stadium.
He went a little too far, but Giant fans have to remember, and I know I'm going to take crap for this, but they're a little fickle. When the Giants were stinking up the joint and Manning threw 4 picks against the Vikings and it wasn't looking good, and everyone's calling for Tom Coughlin's head, including Tiki Barber, and now it switches. Now everyone loves Tom Coughlin. All right, Jersey fans, take it easy.
I think it's more.
They also liked Angelina, and now they like Snooki. So I don't take a side already.
I think they just hate Tiki Barber. I think that just trumps everything.
Yeah,
and the fact that they won the Super Bowl, without him, I think was one of their favorite parts of that whole experience.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Week 5?
Let's do week 5, and we'll start off with one where there's no line, Chicago at Carolina.
And there's no line because Jay Cutler either really has a concussion or faked one. We're not sure.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been bad to fake one.
We watched him actually. So it goes to halftime, and he had just been on the last play. I think he got sacked, or the second to last play.
Next to last, yeah.
All the teams are walking. They're going into the tunnel, and Cutler's way behind, and he's just walking really slowly. And we were joking like, "Oh, he's coming up with an excuse. He doesn't want to come out for the second half." Or, we're joking, and then you move on, and then all of a sudden Todd Collins has started the third quarter. It's pretty funny. Who knows?
But now here's what gets me though, and you must feel this as a Patriots fan. Like, in terms of getting up for a game, my beloved Cowboys, when the Bears came to Dallas 2 weeks ago, they were a 10 in terms of getting up for that Cowboys game.
Yeah.
They were a 0 or less for that Giants game. It seems unfair. Like, I almost feel the league should get involved. I know I sound like a crybaby, but doesn't it get you angry? Like, the Bears didn't have a chance to win that game, and the Giants actually almost blew it. But
well, I see. That was one in my Vegas in the Super Hilton contest or whatever, the Super contest. I picked the Giants just because watching the replay of that Packers-Bears game, it really seemed like the Packers should have blown them out. Like, they couldn't protect Cutler at all, and he threw a couple picks, like got called back for penalties, and he seemed like he was running for his life that whole game.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought, like, if the Giants are ever going to have a pass rush, this seems like it would be the matchup. But their line was even worse than I thought. So anyway, I would say
awful.
Cutler or Todd Collins. I would say the line would be maybe 3.5 if Cutler's playing, and then I'd go to 6 for Collins.
You're saying Carolina would give the 3.5?
Yeah, Carolina 3.5.
I don't know which way to go with this.
Yeah, whatever. There's no line.
Yeah, there's no line. All right, Atlanta at Cleveland. It's funny. Let me just tell everyone real quick what happened with our theoretical bet that we put in every week. You loved Atlanta. I love San Diego. We're all talking teaser here.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about Atlanta. San Francisco. It seems like this is a scenario. Everyone's written them off. the hangover game for Atlanta after going into New Orleans and winning. And then you're like, I've done some research. 0-3 teams, they stink it up. They're no good. You texted me that. That's actually what your text sounded like.
Yeah, that sounded like it.
Yeah, and then I was like, all right, you know what? Let's do it. Screw it. We'll do it. Atlanta, San Diego, teaser. And you're like, great, we're in. And then I talked us out of it. I guess. I said, San Diego's given 9, so it's down to 3 now. What do we do? And you're like, you know what? Scrap it. And
well, because we lose the tease if it's a push.
We lose the tease if it's a push, but we could have gone money line parlay, and we would have had to pay extra. Would have been minus.
Yeah, at that point, neither of us. You'd put the fear of God in me with San Francisco.
I know.
So
but
at that point, I was looking for outs.
Of course.
So we won by like a half point, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been miserable rooting for the Falcons all that time, but since when do we win on a last-second field goal?
Yeah, I know. That would have been because usually whenever we do a tease that wins, we would have won even if we didn't tease the game.
Right.
Either one. So I'm really interested in this Falcons game because I'm not sure if they're good or not. It feels like they should be a top 5 team, but I'm not sure if there's just something slightly missing with them. So I think this is a nice test for them because Cleveland, I think, has proven that they're a pretty competitive team, and they have a little home field advantage. They can take care of business if you don't take care of business on them. So I'm going to say Falcons by 2.5.
All right, you get it. It's actually we tie because it's 3, and I said 3.5.
Wow,
we tie. We each get that. Cincinnati was giving Cleveland 3. I thought Atlanta was slightly better, but Cleveland played better yesterday.
How about our friend Damashek? He dispenses fantasy advice on NFL.com, and yet this weekend he benched Peyton Hillis for Beanie Wells, which, regardless of how it turned out, is one of the most indefensible decisions in the 21st century.
He's not going to like this, but yeah, maybe you should be up for review if bench outscores your starting roster by
his bench doubled his roster, his starters. But I mean, seriously, Peyton Hillis at home against Cincinnati or Beanie Wells in San Diego, where they're going to get blown out by 30 points. What is he thinking?
They're going to be down 3 touchdowns in the first quarter.
Terrible.
Oh, he's going to yell and scream about this.
I mean, it's embarrassing. He should apologize to the country.
Holy hell!
Listen, I'm speaking the truth.
Oh, you're right. All right, Green Bay at Washington.
Ooh. I missed the first half of the Philly game. Were you sold that Washington was better in that game, or was it?
Oh yeah, I don't think Philly was coming back.
Okay.
It's so funny, and you wrote about. You might be the new SI Jinx, by the way.
I'm hoping
about McNabb, and now about Vic, and now he's gone. But everyone loved. I'm not saying you, but everyone loved Philly to run away with this game. And then now you hear yesterday, it's like, this is what we worried about. The line isn't going to protect Michael Vick, and this is exactly what we thought was going to happen. What? I'm winning the NFC East.
I thought that was the toughest game when I was doing my picks. I switched back and forth 20 times in that game. I just couldn't decide. And one of the 10 times I switched to Washington was because I read some stat that Michael Vick in his 10 quarters that he played had been hit more than any quarterback in the league.
Right.
And people were like, watch out for this. He's going to get hurt. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I'm going to take Washington. And then I would start thinking about how the Rams just pasted them the week before. I can't take Washington. But, it did seem like the seeds were kind of planted in the previous games for him to take some punishment.
Yeah. Man,
that was a tough hit, though. Whew.
Yeah, it was. And all for naught, right? It was a holding call that brought it all back.
Yeah. I got to say, I was surprised they cheered McNabb.
Were you? Yeah?
No, I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. I thought it was
the way they are, or that he didn't deserve it? Because I feel like he deserved it.
Oh, no. I think he totally deserved it. I think it was classy. I think it was the right move. But if you're looking at it from a competitive standpoint, probably not a great idea to make this guy feel fantastic right before he's about to beat your team.
Yeah, I guess so. Although you don't know how people
he gets a little rattled. I don't know.
if they booed him, it might have gotten him angry. I don't know. It just would have been such a douchey move to boo him, especially considering you now cheer for a man who electrocuted Yorkshire Terriers. So. Well,
true, but it is Philadelphia, and they have leeway with the booing where they could boo anybody, and people are like, oh, it's Philly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just felt like once we saw that they cheered him, it made me think he was going to win the game. I can't explain it.
It's interesting.
It's like, this is going to put him in a good frame of mind.
Yeah. Well, if you've seen Kevin Cobb's mother in the new Campbell Soup commercials, you'd know that that they long for days of past.
So we have Packers at the Redskins.
Packers at Washington, yeah.
I'm going to say Packers by 1.5.
Oh, wow. All right, you're closer. I said 4.5. I just thought this is one of the games where things even out. It's 2.5.
I think that's fair. I'm not totally sold on the Packers.
Well, here's the problem with the Packers and the Saints, who probably, they should be there come late January, but they can't run the ball at all. I mean, that's I know it sounds cliche, but they're not able to sit on these leads at all. And before you know it, the Lions catch up. The Panthers are in the game against the Saints, and so maybe that is a fair line. But I'd be surprised if they lost.
Hey, Dog, that is a great point. That is a great point. That's 2 times this year that they had a big lead, they almost blew it. It's a great point.
I told you, Mike. I told you that's the case.
Well, it's funny when we had the Brandon Jackson Fantasy Stampede.
Oh, yeah.
And we were saying that we were so mad that we didn't have the free agent auction money system because really if you spent $80 on Brandon Jackson, you're just murdered for the season. Mm-hmm. And all of us were saying, like, the funny thing is we don't even know. This guy might just not be good.
Right.
He wasn't playing. He was a draft pick from a few years before, and he'd never gotten a chance. And I was like, maybe this guy's just a stiff. And it looks like he's a stiff.
You brought up a good point. Like, there should be an auction for the free agent pickups. And I think either that or you should be forced to keep this guy on your roster now. Because
right. You can't waive him?
Yeah, you can't waive him. Otherwise, you get no more picks for the rest of the year.
Well, I love our friend Hench, who's the first one to tell you how fantastic he is at fantasy.
Right.
And had first pick in our draft last week and stumbles into Lance Moore, who now is like a legitimate fantasy weapon, I think. I think he's like a guaranteed starter, but it bothers me so much when you do a terrible job in fantasy and you get rewarded. Like, oh, here's Lance Moore. Here's your reward for your terrible job.
Oh, yeah, he's the first one. He's like, oh, yeah, great job, Bill. You cherry picked the waiver wire. Good job again. Such a savvy owner. Oh, yeah, and then when it turns in his favor, all of a sudden he's like, hey, listen. Yeah. He was offering me Lance Moore like Monday afternoon. I'm like, you don't even have. Oh, you're going to pick him up. I see. All right. He's like desperately looking to make a trade. Yeah. All right. What do we got next? St. Louis at Detroit. I picked this one exactly. This is the only one I nailed. I'm going to say St. Louis by 1. Oh. I'm off. Oh. Detroit by 3. Wow. It's possible we're going to have 2 winless teams, but Carolina's winless, right? And Detroit's winless. It's possible they're both going to be favored this week. I think the Rams are, legitimately frisky at this point. They are good. It's 2 straight legitimate wins by them, back-to-back. No flukes, no, we got 4 turnovers, and we wouldn't have won if all these things. They dominated both of those games. Yeah. And I think we're 2 weeks away. It might even be now that Sam Bradford's the best quarterback in the NFC West. Hey, Sal, do you have the answering machine message I left for you when I told you after week 2 that St. Louis was 400 to 1 odds to win the NFC West? Oh, hold on. Let me see if I can find that. Yeah, I think I do that. All right. Oh, yeah, here it is. Hey, buddy. Rams, 4,001 win NFC West. Bradford, Steven Jackson, Varsity Blues. Let's do it. That's basically what happened. But yeah, they were 40 to 1 to win the NFC West, and I think they were 0-2 at that point, and they just lost to the Raiders by in a heartbreaking last second. And I think we were on the phone, and we were trying to decide who, if the Niners could come back, what the best odds were. It was what if the Rams go 6-10? 41 odds, not terrible. Of course, we didn't do it. No, I know. Maybe we should do it because if they win this game. Oh, if they win this game, 3-2. What do we think wins the division? 8? We don't get those odds now, but I got to say, I think
you could really make a case Sam Bradford is the best player in that division. And definitely Steven Jackson is as good of a running back as anybody in the division, but Sam Bradford's the best quarterback.
Max Hall, Hasselbeck, and Alex Smith.
Yeah.
That's what he's up against.
Sam Bradford, I got to say I wasn't totally sold on him as the number 1 draft pick, but I think he's really good. I like the way he carries himself.
Yeah, well, why would – I mean, just some teams just, they draft some sucky over the years. You're just like, oh, I feel bad even if this guy is good. He's not going to be good because he's on the Rams. But
plus it seemed like the classic scenario where it was clear who the best guy in the draft was, Sue.
Yeah.
And it was like, they could
throws to a receiver I haven't heard of. So.
Wow, Rams are still plus 900.
9-1 to win the division?
Yeah.
Wow. The only thing is you have to figure the Lions are going to – they're a lot of fun to watch. I mean, only the Vikings game is one that kind of got out of hand. Otherwise, you can make a case they could have won all 3 of the others.
The Cardinals are plus 180, the Niners are plus 180, and the Seahawks are plus 180. And the Rams, who just beat the hell out of the Seahawks, are plus 900.
But here's what you're giving up if you take the Rams. You could go the whole season with not having to pay too much attention to that division. If you take the Rams, all of a sudden you're sucked into watching them trying to put them on a big screen.
Great point.
Arizona in November.
I still think we should think about it.
All right, we'll think about it. I'm going to re-listen to your voice message.
Yeah, listen to it a couple more times.
All right, Kansas City at Indianapolis.
How many times did you hear somebody say that? How crazy is it that the Chiefs are the only undefeated team right now?
I know.
That's replaced concussions are dangerous as the new catchphrase for the season.
And TJ, don't look now. The Kansas City Chiefs undefeated.
Al Michaels said it too. Peter King said it. Yeah. I would have said it if all these other people had said it. I'm going to say Colts by it's either 8 or 8.5, and I'm going to say 8.
All right, good for you. It's exactly 8. I went a little crazy. I said 11 because they're not winning this game, the Chiefs.
They're not winning it, but the Colts are. They're pretty banged up.
Yeah. But when they lost that game, it was just stupid turnovers, right? And penalties, maybe they weren't used to the pink gloves. I don't know. They seemed like they were dropping balls when they shouldn't have been.
By the way, speaking of odds, kudos to us because we're in on Pittsburgh at 12-1 and Green Bay at 12-1, and now those are both 8-1.
Yeah,
that's your job as a gambler to get the deals.
Yeah, it all loses in the end, but it's nice to get to brag about how you're getting value.
Well, this is why I wish we had that like a pseudo stock system where you buy in, but then you could sell it right now for a little tidy profit. Would be cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe we could sell it to Hench and Damashek. Yeah, but that's 2nd and 2. Like that, Caldwell's getting off the hook, I think, a little bit. 2nd and 2, the Jags are just running out the clock. 2nd and 2, he has 1 or 2 timeouts left, and they call a timeout.
Do you think he gets gotten off the hook? I mean, I think people have pretty much agreed that might have been the dumbest timeout of the season. Yeah,
it was bad. I guess as long as Andy Reid's around, everyone else is getting off the hook.
It was most surprising that he did anything. I thought he just stood there.
Yeah, just let it go. But
just pretend you're in a coma like you always do.
Right. I think, there'll be no undefeated teams after this week.
No.
Hard to believe.
Although my friend Connor Shaw, who's a giant Chiefs fan and also the only Chiefs fan I've ever met, he was saying they're going to lose this game. They're going to lose at Houston the next week, and then they're going to win the next 11.
Wow.
Prediction. Yeah. He thinks they're going to go 14-2. He's dead serious. He's like, look at the schedule.
I haven't seen their schedule.
He's like, look at our schedule. We're going to be favored in every game but at San Diego. It's the only one we won't be favored in.
Could that be? Oh, I'm nervous then if that's the case. All right. What are they to win the division?
I'm going to look that up as you give me the next line.
All right. Denver at Baltimore.
Ooh.
You're up 3-2 right now, including the tie.
You see, Baltimore's pass defense this year has given up 119 yards a game, which is really impressive.
Yeah.
And yet Kyle Orton is on pace to throw for 5,500 yards.
Yeah.
You know what that means, Sal?
What is it?
Something's got to give. That's what that means.
All right. Something's got to give. That sounds like Gruden 2006-ish.
I'm going to say Ravens by 6.
Nice. I get this one. I said 6.5. It's 7. It's up to 7.
All right, quick.
This is another team that might be better on the road. Like Baltimore goes to Pittsburgh, goes to the Jets, they win.
Yeah.
And then now they're giving a half dozen points at home.
Well, if there's ever, I mean, the definition of a letdown game is this game, I think.
Yeah. Well, except that Denver had a big win too, so that's what.
Ooh, they could just be letting each other down.
Yeah.
What do you think the AFC West odds are right now? I'm looking at them. I'm be interested
All of them?
to see again.
For who?
Just for San Diego and Kansas City to win the division.
All right. So the Chiefs are 3-0.
Chargers are 2-2.
Chargers are 2-2. You know what? The Chargers are still favored. I'm going to say. I bet the Chargers are minus 150.
Yep, they're minus 175. What do you think the Chiefs are?
Plus 130.
Plus 160.
Is it?
Yeah.
Not worth it, right?
Not worth it.
What do they have? They have.
Not worth it.
They have
what you do is
1.5 game lead. Let's say San Diego beats the Chiefs at home. That'll be down to a half game.
No, what you do if you're going to bet the Chiefs, you wait for them to lose these next 2 games until they're 3-2, and that's when you bet it.
Right.
And by that time, they'll be 4-1.
Let's make a note of that. All right, Tampa at Cincy.
I still think Cincy sucks. I was vindicated yesterday, and I think this is a possible upset special for us. I'm going to say Cincinnati by 4.5.
Oh, I get this one too. I said 7. It's 6.5.
That's an upset special for us.
You think so, huh?
Yeah, I do.
The only thing that gets me is Carson Palmer isn't to blame for that game. He actually had a good game this week, and if Owens is going to show up, it complicates things a little in our betting against Cincinnati the whole rest of the year.
Well, he made 178-yard catch that somebody missed a tackle, right?
Yeah, but I think his percent, I don't know what his completion percentage was, but he didn't really let them down.
I still don't like him. Let's keep going.
All right. Jacksonville at Buffalo. Buffalo, you know, with Carolina playing well and who else? And Detroit playing well and even like San Francisco playing well and losing. Buffalo, clear-cut basement, worst team in the league, right?
Well, here's the thing. If they don't win this game, now you start to seriously get concerned for 0-16 if you're a Bills fan. Because
I think so.
This is one of the only home games really in Buffalo. I have a couple predictions. I'm going to predict that Spiro Didius is the announcer for this game, and I'm also going to predict that the Jags are favored by 1 point.
I said, well, you're off on one of them at least. Well, actually, you're going to win this one. I said the Jags by 3.5 because I bought into their win yesterday, but it's a pick, so you get that one. Okay, Giants at Houston is next.
This has
game so far. I've read
this has blowout potential. I'm going to say Texans by 7.5.
Oh boy, way off, Billy. I said 4, and it's 3.
What?
Houston. Yeah.
Well, I think I know one of my picks this week.
Well, it's all if you buy into the Giants' defense being resurrected. That's it. I don't.
That's ridiculous. There's no way they're going to do well in that game. Wow, that's one of my 5 picks for the Vegas contest. I'm telling you right now.
They haven't exactly lit it up though, Houston. You know, they didn't look great against Dallas. They were a play away from playing overtime against Oakland.
Well, 2 things are going on. They're missing their left tackle, and Andre Johnson's hurt.
Yeah.
So next week they still won't have their left tackle. That's not good for the Giants game. But
that's true.
We'll see. I think that line's too low. What's the score right now?
I like that the NFC East and the AFC South are playing each other. Like it just seems like those 2 divisions are going to beat each other up all year.
Yeah.
New Orleans at Arizona. These are the late afternoon games.
Cards, Buffalo's the worst team, or the Cards second?
The Cards have 2 wins. Isn't that crazy? The Cardinals and the Colts both have 2 wins.
The Cardinals have 2 wins?
The Cardinals have 2 wins. They beat the Raiders and the Rams?
I recant that statement then. They look bad.
No, I think they're right. I think they are the worst.
I'm trying to think. I mean, anybody I'm looking at the list of the teams that are playing this week, and the only team that looks like they're worse are the Bills. I mean, I guess you could say maybe the Jags are, but the Jags are 2-2 too.
Yeah, they could easily be 0-4, Arizona. And
if the Niners were playing the Cardinals on a neutral field, who would you bet on?
The Niners and Cardinals?
Yeah, in a neutral field.
I think the Niners. I mean, they're in these games for a while until they do pull off a boneheaded move.
I think the Cardinals stink.
Seems like junk. Fitzgerald will go like deep into the fourth quarter with 25 yards, and then what? Like you said, what is it? Beanie Wells and Hightower. What do they have? How do they move the ball?
I'm saying Vegas zone for this one. Saints by 4.5.
All right, it's higher than that. I said 5, and it's 7.
Oh.
Nice.
I almost went higher, and then I thought that because the Cards have that home field advantage.
All right, well, you know what? I'll give you another chance. Go ahead. Guess it again.
Are you winning now?
I'm up 6-4. Similar game, San Diego at Oakland.
Yep.
San Diego blacked out again, by the way, yesterday.
Unbelievable. I don't understand. Like, do they think people from L.A. are going to drive to the San Diego game if it gets blacked out? Like, what's the rationale behind that? And
also, we're not going to see any of the home games. They're going to go 2-6 on the road, and everyone's going to see those games, and they're going to end up 10-6. And we're like, hey, how the hell is this team in the Super Bowl? The only games I saw of them, they lost. I don't know.
Yeah, that's terrible. I'm going to say Chargers by 6.5.
We tie here because I said 5.5 and it's 6.
Oh boy, that's not good for me.
It's about right. Tennessee at Dallas. See, this is what I mean. The Titans lost last week. Now they're going to be fired up going into Dallas.
Not a great matchup for you. I feel like they could run the ball on you. Am I wrong to think that?
We have Minnesota coming up too. Like we have the two best running backs back to back, basically.
I'm going to hit this one exactly. Cowboys by 6.5.
Oh, you did. You did hit it exactly.
Thank you.
What do you know?
It just seems to me like it's very similar to the last week, the Titans being 6.5 over the Broncos. It seems like that's the exact discrepancy between the two teams in that first matchup is the same with Cowboys-Titans to me.
I don't like that. The underdog won.
Yeah.
All right, Philly at San Fran. This is the Sunday night game. Let me just say there's no line because they don't know yet about Michael Vick.
Oh.
But I mean, I think if Vick play, I don't know. I think it's going to be. I said Philly would be favored by a couple. You don't think so?
I don't think he's going to play. I don't think we see him for like 5 weeks.
Wow.
And if Kevin Cobb plays, I think the Niners have to be favored, and that would go Niners by 2.
So we have 3 0-4 teams then that could be favored. Carolina over Chicago, possibly.
Yeah.
Detroit over St. Louis, we know is a favorite. And you're thinking San Fran over Philly.
Yeah, just because, I mean, it's weird. 0-4, usually your season should be over, but in that division it's not. And if they're 1-4, potentially they're only 2 games back, and they get to play everybody again. And 8-8, you could easily win that division. Same for 7-9. So they're
1-4, actually, they clinch a tie for the division, I read.
Well, and then you can make the case that they really should have won the Saints game probably. And then yesterday, obviously, if Nick Clemens just falls down, they win. So,
right.
You know.
All right. Well, here it is. This is there's no line there. Here's the last game, Monday night. You need this to tie. You have 6 and I have 7, including our ties.
Yeah.
Minnesota at the Jets.
Ooh. It's a great game.
It should be a great game, yeah.
You outbid me for Tomlinson in our draft.
Boy, was that a steal. I mean, I chalk that up to Hard Knocks. I have Tomlinson in both my leagues, and for some reason he's overshadowing Sean Green by miles.
I have the New York Jets by 3.5 points.
All right. You get it. We tie. I said 3, and it's actually Jets by 4.
And we're going Ryder Cup rules, so whoever won the week before gets to maintain the championship. Thank you.
What?
I don't know. I just made that up.
That can't be. I forgot Vegas factors in Brett Favre's bedtime. It's 7:45. So
it's Jets by 4.
Oh, there's an old joke. He was born like 3 months before me. I get to make an old Brett Favre joke.
Jets by 4.
Jets by 4. That's going to be a fun game.
Yeah, are you sold? I mean,
you have to root for Brett Favre here.
Well, let's think about the Jets for a second, because they looked so bad in Week 1 that it threw everybody off the scent. They played a really good game against the Pats. Sanchez has not turned the ball over yet this whole season. Who'd they beat last week? I can't remember.
They beat the Dolphins, right?
Yeah, another strong win. Like, Dolphins played well, Jets pulled it out. And then they did everything they needed to do in Buffalo. That's a game that a team that is headed for a 1 or a 2 seed in the playoffs should win 38-10 or whatever, and that's what they did.
All right, well, I have a simple solution for this, figuring out if the Jets are good. The team they lost to, the Ravens, they just make everyone look bad. They're that good. They screw around, and they stay in the games, and they kick field goals, and Flacco gets the job done, and they're not going to get beat up by anybody. So I think the Jets are good.
So there's a chance that the Ravens and the Jets were the 2 best AFC teams other than the Steelers. I think that's the top 3 in some order. And we didn't quite realize that in Week 1, and we downgraded both of them because their offenses look so bad. But actually, they might just both be really good, and that was a slugfest.
I think that's the case.
So we think that's the top 3, and then in the NFC, who's your favorite NFC team?
Oh, man. Well, like I said, it could shape up that Green Bay and New Orleans are the top 2, but they can't run the ball for anything. I'm not about to put an NFC East team in there. Man.
I think it's vacant. I don't think there's a dominant team.
Yeah, you can't. I don't think we're going to see until Week 8 or 9.
Because the one thing we learned the last few years is that you can win the Super Bowl without a running game. But you at least have to be able to run for a first down or 2 when you need one. And I don't even think Green Bay can do that. Like, even when the Colts won in 2006 with that crappy running game, the post Edgar and James, like, at least they could get a first down every once in a while. And the Saints last year, same thing. Like, Pierre Thomas could make plays. Bush could get swing passes out of the backfield. Green Bay just doesn't have anybody.
Yeah, and you have Adele Betts starting for the Saints. Like, why aren't some of these teams poaching the Bills for Marshawn Lynch? What would they have to give up for him at this point?
I know. Well, and then I kind of like Atlanta the most on paper, but something about them makes me nervous. Like, Matt Ryan just, he got totally off the hook for that terrible interception he threw because the guy ended up fumbling it, but that was a terrible pass. He made 2 terrible passes in that game yesterday.
It was bad. What do we want for an upset? You're going,
Oh, yeah. I guess the options are the Bucks, the Ravens, and the Titans.
Bucks, the Broncos, you mean? Yeah.
Bucks, Broncos, and Titans, sorry. I like the Bucks.
All right, I'll go Bucks, too.
All right.
Bucks, too. Because, actually, you saw that whole thing with Mike Williams, took the team out for dinner, spent $54 on them.
He took it to Long John Silver's?
Yeah, it's big news. That's going to inspire him.
You got anything to plug?
Yeah, Jimmy Kimmel Live this week, Dr. Phil, Courtney Cox, cast of Modern Family, Joaquin Phoenix. It's amazing how good the guests can be when you're in reruns. You just stack your best shows. And
you're in reruns?
We're in reruns, yeah. We're off this week.
What are you doing all week?
I don't know. I'll be around, probably watching baseball all week.
Why are Corolla and Kimmel in Mexico?
And it sounds like a Bazooka Joe riddle. I don't know. I don't get it. No, I don't know. Jimmy, they got a house and they went out there.
Look at those two.
Right now, though. They'll be back. And also, I'll be guessing lines at the Comedy Cabaret in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, October 8th and 9th. I just stand up there and guess lines.
Good job. Congratulations. Good job. How are you there, Sal?
Thanks, Seth, buddy. See you tomorrow.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right.
So I get to sign off. Whoa.
Thank you for downloading the B.S. Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Podcenter at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.
That concludes another episode of the B.S. Report, and we leave you with this final thought. Subway Restaurants is cheering on Jared. As if losing almost 250 pounds wasn't enough, Jared has run 552 miles training for the 2010 ING New York City Marathon. He fuels his training with the low-fat Subway Club. So now, to celebrate this landmark achievement, the Subway Club is the newest $5 footlong sub for a limited time, so hurry in. And hey, Jared, what's next? Scaling Everest? Maybe kayaking the Pacific? Subway. Eat fresh.